In the world of video games, few events have left a lasting impact as that of the 2017 release of Star Wars Battlefront 2. Developed by 2’s and published by EA Electronic Arts, this game was meant to celebrate a beloved franchise. Instead, its controversial loot box system and aggressive monetization model ignited global outrage, regulatory intervention, and a complete rethinking of the industry practices. Today we're going to look back at the lasting legacy of this scandal. Star Wars Battlefront 2's controversial loot box system sparked the biggest gaming industry backlash of 2017, ultimately leading to fundamental changes in how video games make money. What started as player outrage over randomized rewards quickly escalated into global controversy that caught Disney's attention and triggered government investigations. Before we jump into how Star Wars Battlefront 2 implemented loot boxes, here's a little fun fact for you. The concept of loot boxes emerged from the randomized reward system in a massively multiplayer online role-playing games, which initially appeared in 2004. The first implementation was the gotcha porn ticket in the Japanese version of MapleStory. Subsequently, the Chinese free-to-play game ZT Online introduced loot boxes as a core game mechanic in 2007. The evolution of loot boxes gained momentum through mobile gaming, particularly in the Asian markets. Puzzle and Dragons became the first mobile game to generate over $1 billion through its gotcha-based monetization approach. In the Western gaming market, significant implementations included Team Fortress 2 introduction of random crates in 2010, FIFA 09's card pack system in March 2009, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive skin system. Furthermore, the success of Overwatch's color-coded rarity system in 2016 prompted numerous major franchises to adopt similar mechanics. By 2020, in-game purchases had grown into a $92.6 billion market worldwide. Now jumping over to Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 took an unprecedented approach to loot boxes. The game locked several key characters and weapons behind its monetization system, requiring players to either invest significant time or money. Players calculated that unlocking all the content would demand approximately 4,528 hours of gameplay, equivalent to 2.5 years of full-time work. The game's progression system was fundamentally built around the loot box economy, marking the first time mechanics directly affected core gameplay in a full-price title. Players face the choice between grinding extensively or purchasing loot boxes to access initial features and upgrades. The system particularly disadvantaged new players who would enter matches against opponents equipped with significant advantages, such as things like 10% increased damage and 30% lower cooldown times on their abilities. The aggressive implementation prompted intense scrutiny for both players and regulators. Belgium's Gaming Commission launched an investigation specifically targeting Battlefront 2's loot box system. This unprecedented level of regulatory attention signaled a turning point in how governments worldwide would approach gaming monetization practices. The core of Battlefront 2's controversy centered around its progression system, which players discovered would require approximately 40 hours of gameplay to unlock a single hero character. So if you wanted to play as iconic characters like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, you best get grinding, or you can fork out some cash. This revelation sparked immediate concern among the gaming community about the game's fundamental design. The game advancement mechanics relied heavily on loot boxes tied directly to player progression. Players needed star cards from these loot boxes to improve their abilities and unlock new features. A thorough analysis revealed that completing all unlocks would demand an astounding 4,528 hours of gameplay. Alternatively, players could spend roughly $2,000 USD to acquire everything through purchases. The community's frustration boiled over when these calculations showed that the iconic characters such as Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker required extensive grinding or significant monetary investment. The progression structure presented three major issues: heroes locked behind substantial time investments, random loot box rewards affecting competitive gameplay, and daily caps on credit earnings in single-player modes. Moreover, this system created an uneven playing field as players who purchased loot boxes gained immediate access to powerful abilities and upgrades. EA's first attempt to address these concerns only intensified the backlash. The company's statement about providing players a, quote, sense of pride and accomplishment became the most downvoted comment in Reddit's history, accumulating over 675,000 downvotes. Consequently, EA made several rapid adjustments. The first was to reduce the hero cost by 75%. The second was to decrease the campaign reward credits to 5,000 from the original 20,000 credits. And the third was the implementation cooldowns on arcade mode credit earnings. The situation reached a critical point when Disney executives intervened. According to reports, Disney CEO Bob Iger personally contacted EA's leadership. Under mounting pressure, EA made the unprecedented decision to remove all microtransactions hours before the game's launch. This marks a significant shift in the company's approach to monetization and player progression. The situation escalated rapidly as Disney's head of consumer products and interactive media, Jimmy Pitaro, directly contacted EA's management system. The entertainment giant worried about negative press affecting Star Wars: The Last Jedi's upcoming theatrical release. Meanwhile, Wall Street analysis started predicting disappointing sale figures for the game, with EA stock dropping 70%. EA made an unprecedented decision mere hours before the game's global launch. DICE's general manager, Oscar Gabrielson, announced the complete removal of in-game purchases in a statement that acknowledged several critical issues, including players' concerns about unfair advantages, the controversy overshadowing the game's core experience, and the need for extensive rebalancing and tuning. Therefore, all crystal purchases were immediately disabled, making progression entirely dependent on gameplay. EA CFO Blake Jorgensen urged players to, quote, be patient while they explored alternatives. Ultimately, Lucasfilm stood behind EA's decision, stating that Star Wars has always been about the fans. Temporary removal marked the first time a major publisher had completely reversed course on a monetization system so close to launch. While EA confirmed that microtransactions would return after modifiers, the immediate shutdown demonstrated the unprecedented power of player feedback combined with pressure from major entertainment corporation. The Battlefront 2 controversy sent shockwaves through the gaming industry, prompting fundamental changes in how publishers approach monetization. EA responded by implementing an internal, quote, moral compass framework for game development. The new approach required testing monetization systems early in development with player feedback. Additionally, other major publishers began distancing themselves from controversial loot box mechanics. Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft collectively mandated loot box odds disclosure for games coming out by 2020. In light of the backlash, the industry shifted towards more transparent revenue models. The global microtransactions market is projected to reach $121.18 billion by the year 2028. Publishers adopted more key strategies, including cosmetic-only purchases replacing gameplay-affecting items, battle pass systems, which were popularized by Fortnite, direct purchase options instead of randomized rewards, increased transparency, and probability disclosures. As a matter of fact, games like League of Legends demonstrated the viability of cosmetic-only monetization, with millions of players worldwide purchasing character skins and visual upgrades. The success of this model encouraged other publishers to follow suit. Essentially, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 controversy altered how games are developed from the ground up. Development frameworks now emphasize that video game industry microtransaction models target what are known as whales, a small percentage of players who spend significantly on in-game purchases. Although only 5 to 20% of gaming communities make microtransactions, yet the revenue generated remains substantial enough to influence design decisions. Free-to-play games particularly benefited from these changes. For instance, Riot Games' League of Legends generates almost all revenue through in-game purchases. However, concerns about exploitative practices do persist. Epic Games faced a $245 million US fine settlement with the FTC over unwanted in-game purchases, highlighting the ongoing challenge of balancing profitable monetization with player satisfaction. The industry's self-regulation efforts are continuing to evolve, with many publishers removing loot boxes from existing games and avoiding them in all new releases. The shift represents a broader transformation in how games generate long-term revenue while maintaining player trust. Following the widespread controversy surrounding loot boxes, Regulatory bodies worldwide launched extensive investigations into their potential harm. The FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, organized a public workshop in August 2019, bringing together industry representatives and consumer advocates, and the government official examined consumer protection issues. FTT's investigation focused on marketing practices and potential behavioral impact on young consumers. The commission requested detailed information from the game companies about the loot box implementation and business practices. Under those circumstances, the Entertainment Software Association stepped in to negotiate directly with the FTC, maintaining that loot boxes were not connected into gambling. I have to interject here. The whole point of this video was for me to refrain from having my personal views and thoughts on this situation that happened in 2017 with Battlefront 2. But this part here, where they were maintaining that loot boxes were not connected to gambling, is absolute bullshit. This is the same people that every few months will pop up and say that video games cause violence, but at the same time say that there is no connection between loot boxes and gambling. Fuck these people. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand. The UK government conducted a comprehensive review recognising both the gaming sector's economic importance and its responsibility for consumer protection. The investigation revealed significant concerns about the children's access to loot boxes. Indeed, this led to a crucial stance. Children should not purchase loot boxes without parental approval. Various countries have implemented distinct regulatory approaches. Belgium banned paid loot boxes in 2018, threatening violations with prison sentences up to 5 years and fines reaching 800,000 euros. China mandated probability disclosures, established daily purchase limits, and required gradually increasing odds in the player's favor. Japan prohibited specific gotcha systems that require collecting multiple items to receive rare rewards, and the Netherlands imposed regulations under existing gaming and betting laws. Nevertheless, enforcement challenges persist. Some developers just chose to withdraw their games from regulated markets rather than comply with restrictions. China recently announced stricter laws banning rewards for first-time purchases and consecutive microtransactions, leading to significant market impacts. Following this announcement, Tencent shares dropped 16%, while NetEase experienced a 25% decline. The UK government opted to allow video game industry an opportunity for self-regulation before considering legislation. A technical working group of industry members convened by the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport began developing protective measures. The framework to focus on three key elements: adopting specific industry standard rules, continuous monitoring and compliance, implementing enforcement mechanisms. The International Game Development Association urged immediate action through affirming commitment against marketing loot boxes to children, clearly disclosing reward odds, and launching parental control awareness campaigns. The gaming industry faces mounting pressure to address these concerns proactively. Several major platforms, including Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, have already implemented mandatory odd disclosure policies. Primary concerns center around protecting vulnerable players, especially children, while maintaining the economic benefits for both company and players. The regulatory landscape continues evolving, with some jurisdictions favoring strict control while others advocate for industry self-regulation. The effectiveness of these measures remains under scrutiny as governments worldwide monitor the industry's ability to regulate and protect consumers effectively. Star Wars Battlefront 2's loot box controversy marked a defining moment that reshaped gaming industry that is still being felt today. Though microtransactions remain a significant revenue stream, publishers now prioritize transparent monetization systems over randomized rewards. Major companies shifted towards cosmetic-only purchases and battle pass systems, abandoning gameplay-affecting items that sparked the initial backlash. Regulatory bodies worldwide responded decisively, establishing new guidelines and restrictions. Belgium's outright ban on paid loot boxes, China's strict probability disclosure requirements, and similar measures across multiple jurisdictions demonstrated the growing scrutiny of the gaming industry's monetization practices. These changes push the industry towards self-regulation, with platform holders implementing mandatory odds and disclosure and age restrictions. The controversy's lasting impact extends beyond monetary systems. Game developers now consider player feedback earlier in development, while publishers evaluate monetization strategies through stricter ethical frameworks. The player-centric approach combined with regulatory oversight suggests a feature where gaming companies must balance profit objectives with consumer protection and transparency. Star Wars Battlefront 2 ultimately proved that the gaming communities do hold significant power to influence industry practices. The game's troubled launch sparked changes that continue to shape how developers approach in-game purchases, creating a more transparent and hopefully consumer-friendly gaming environment. So I have a question for you all now. Who here played Star Wars Battlefront 2 at the game's launch and can remember just how bad that game was in pay-to-win aspects, especially with the Star Card system? Let me know in the comments section, and let me know how you remember Star Wars Battlefront 2 and your thoughts on loot boxes in general. And one final thing here, this video is structured very differently from how I normally go about making videos. This one's just a lot more attempted at being objective, with me throwing very few of my personal feelings in there. But let me know what you think about this one. So I could use the feedback because we got a few ideas for other videos like this. So I'm very curious to know what you like about it. The best way you can show support is leaving the thumbs up on it. If you didn't like it, just thumbs down and tell me I'm trash and all that good stuff. Anyway, have a fantastic day and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.